Tony Curtis. There's a particular kind of clarity that only comes with age. The noise fades, the cameras stop flashing, the magazine covers yellow and curl at the edges. And when all of that finally goes quiet, what a person is left with are the moments that actually mattered. The faces, the choices, the relationships that quietly shaped everything. For one of classic Hollywood's most magnetic stars, that reckoning produced a surprisingly honest answer. Tony Curtis spent more than 6 decades in the spotlight, with a smile that could light up an entire set and a screen presence that few actors of his era could match. He became one of the defining faces of a golden age in American cinema. Films like Some Like It Hot and The Defiant Ones cemented his place in Hollywood history. But if you looked past the credits and the awards and the tabloid headlines, you found something far more interesting. A man who loved deeply, lost repeatedly, and never quite stopped searching for the version of his life that felt real. He married 6 times. He was linked to some of the most celebrated women in the entertainment world. Every new relationship seemed to become its own newspaper event. And yet, when Tony Curtis reflected on it all in his later years, he didn't frame his life as a series of romances. He framed it as a journey toward understanding himself, understanding the people he had loved, and understanding the difference between what fame could give him and what it never could. The women who moved through his life weren't footnotes. Each one represented something distinct. Some arrived during moments of triumph. Others showed up when he was quietly falling apart. A few left behind lessons he carried for the rest of his life. But before we reach the woman Tony himself singled out as the one whose influence truly endured, we have to travel back through the chapters. Through the glamour, the heartbreak, and the slow, honest work of self-reflection. Few on-screen pairings in Hollywood history have captured the public imagination quite like Tony Curtis and Marilyn Monroe. When Some Like It Hot was released in 1959, audiences were transfixed by their chemistry. The film became one of the most celebrated comedies ever produced, and many people, perhaps understandably, began to wonder whether the sparks visible on screen reflected something real happening behind the camera. The truth, as it often is, was more layered than the rumors suggested. Tony and Marilyn had actually known each other years before either of them became a household name. In the late 1940s, both were contract players at major studios, young and ambitious, and largely unknown, crossing paths at parties and auditions, and studio events, each quietly hoping that Hollywood would eventually make good on its promises. At that stage, they were simply 2 struggling actors who recognized something familiar in each other's eyes. By the time they were cast together in Some Like It Hot, everything had changed. Marilyn Monroe had become one of the most famous human beings on the planet. But according to Curtis's later recollections, that level of fame had not come without a significant personal cost. He watched up close during filming, as she navigated immense internal pressure, delays on set, the weight of public expectation, and a level of emotional vulnerability that the glamorous photographs rarely captured. Curtis would later reflect that while working alongside Marilyn could be genuinely challenging at times, he also recognized her as someone with an extraordinary, almost inexplicable ability to own every frame she appeared in. Very few performers, he said, could do what she did with a single glance. A joke Curtis made about filming with Marilyn became one of the most widely repeated quotes in Hollywood gossip history. But he took pains in later interviews to clarify that what the press amplified was a single offhand remark, stripped of context. The fuller picture, he insisted, was one of genuine admiration for her talent and real empathy for the burdens she was carrying. When Marilyn died in 1962, Curtis, like so many others who had known her, was left quietly devastated. In the years that followed, he spoke less about the gossip and more about what her story represented, the painful reality that fame offers no protection against loneliness, and that the most